Yes, Spurs fans, how we doing? Welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. It's been a while, international break, and definitely some things have happened over the international break. I think I've just been busy with various things going on in life, and then also have been transitioning over to another kind of house sitting situation here. And Daniel Levy has officially left Tottenham Hotspur Football Club by the looks of things, which I was chatting to people in the back end. Maybe not on his own terms, maybe something that came as a bit of a surprise to him. So that's definitely, I think, going to be an interesting talking point. Who maybe behind the behind the scenes at Spurs is making these powerful decisions? Because I think at one point we felt like we were doomed with Levy for such a long time. He was someone that we just had to reconcile with, just get to terms with, that he was just going to be here. It felt like forever, but crazy enough, in our lifetime, we're seeing Daniel Levy leave the football club, and we're seeing some new people come in. And also, we saw Vinay Venkatesham give a very transparent and very, wonderful, I think, explanation of maybe what has happened and what will happen. Whether it will come true or not, we'll find out. But it was been a nice, refreshing, maybe week for Spurs and for Spurs fans. And I'd imagine, despite the craziness of this all and the constant roller coasters that it feels like we go through as Spurs fans, feels like maybe in a way all kind of good news or kind of refreshing news, just things that we can look forward to see how Spurs maybe change, see if kind of the way that we operate ends up changing in the long run. But we have some people on the back end already that we're going to bring on. Good to see some people in the chat. Stevie Frazier saying life as a Spurs fan is never dull. Hey, got to be feeling optimistic for change. That's kind of the way I was phrasing it just a second ago there. Like, I feel like despite these changes being very dramatic, you could say maybe they could be ones that, we can be relatively positive about. I agree with you there, Stevie. We have everything in place. Come on, you Spurs, new era, and maybe some foundations to build off of. It's not like, the new people in charge have to completely scrape and scrap and destroy everything that was done before. They have a beautiful new stadium, state of the art training ground, relatively good squad that, of course, in my opinion, I think still needs some improving here and there, but strong youth academy. There's a lot of foundations that the new people in charge can build off of, but we, of course, want to see more success on the football pitch, especially after that last season winning the Europa League. Spot on there, Stevie. Harmless Potato, good to see you. Hopefully everything's all right with you, as well as AK Shags. Appreciate your support there, AK. Shawnee Maddox, where's Dave? How am I supposed to rattle him from the comments, Dave? I think is just had like an infection of some kind, so he's tied up in the hospital right now, just taking care of himself. Hopefully back for this weekend. He might even need to be doing a standing watch along, which would be fun. Give him a real workout, as if he's like an anchor man for the for the Spurs games. He'll be like a commentator, the ones that have to stand up the whole time while giving their their comments on the game. Spurs man saying big up Jack. Let's get the 3 point Saturday. Spurs are back. Levy is gone. Craziness going on, Spurs man. We have a London derby this weekend against the Bubble Blowers. Patrick O'Donnell. I can't wait for the game this weekend. I'm excited. Hopefully we get to put the nail in the coffin for Graham Potter as well, someone who I think has been struggling, but he did come off of the back of a very important win before international break that I wonder could be maybe a kicking point, maybe could be a way for them to get going this Premier League season, or maybe it's just one that's prolonged the inevitable that will eventually come, which is his sacking. But hopefully it can be us that can give him the sacking, Patrick. Alan, hopefully you're all right, my friend. Hope you're well this sunny Wednesday. Doing all right, dude. Doing all right. Hopefully everything's all right with you. Beautiful San Diego. And then AK Shag, should we play the B team this week? Easy 3 points, easy. Turn a bad evening. Jack feels like a real renaissance happening in the history of Tottenham. The change has come. It's a lot of new things to be thinking about. It doesn't happen overnight, but we'll see maybe in the course of the next season or two, maybe some changes in the way that Spurs operate. And I think usually for us, it has to do with the transfer market, and maybe as well, like more things like what Vinay just did, these explanations, these maybe bits of transparency that come out from the football club. Like he even brought up the fact that Spurs have rejected, a couple of takeover moves, these type of things that maybe have gone on behind the scenes before, but we just had no idea about as Spurs fans. We could only speculate. Now is being spoken about a bit more openly and honestly, from the now current CEO and Vinay Venkatesham, who I guess we could sort of look at as maybe the new, I mean, I don't want to give him that title, but he is the new Levy. And that it seems like he's the one that kind of is in charge at the minute, apart from the ones above him that we know who are in the Enoch Trust and are the Lewis family members, which we'll discuss in just a minute's time. So without further ado, we'll bring on the people, the fan show members that are in the background. We already have about 3 back there, and would love to see some more come on and join me and have a conversation as we, in a sense, put Levy to rest. I think that's the way that I put it. I think it's our final, maybe bits and pieces, maybe a couple more shows, but I don't know if we need to do too many because it's happened and it's done. The Levy era is officially over. And I think we'll talk about what that means for the future, but also, how we look back on maybe his time at the football club. He was one of the longest serving chairmen of any football club. So there's definitely a lot to discuss. Let's bring on the people on the back end. We have, of course, Ryan, who's been waiting patiently, the likes of Eugene as well, and our lovely Brad Matthews. Good to have Brad Matthews back in with us. It's going to be a Levy focused show tonight, guys, but once for a change, it's not going to be Levy forever. These are maybe one of our final times, to discuss Daniel Levy and his time here. The part that I was talking to Eugene and Brad and Ryan about in the back end was the idea that maybe he had no idea that this was happening. So I'll go to you first, Brad, since it's been a while since we've had you. Just on that part alone, do you think Levy knew that this was coming, or do you think he didn't know this was coming? And I think that's an interesting starting point.
I think, hello everybody, and best wishes to David, obviously. From what I've been hearing, I've probably been reading and hearing what most people have been reading and hearing from. It seems that that the owners put some sort of brought in some sort of independent group to go through the club, to look at the club and interview various people. Now, you would assume that they would have interviewed Daniel Levy. So in that respect, you think, well, maybe he obviously knew something was happening. As far as whether he knew, and I think what happened was Joe Lewis has not been the owner for the last 3 years, because he basically put all of his shares in a trust for his family, and then after he did that, got found out for insider trading. So just sort of missed one there. So it was really the owners were his, and I say kids, but apparently they're in their 60s. Yeah. Were his daughter and his son. I think it's Charlie. It's Charlie, and it's Viv. Yeah, Viv and Charlie. Yeah. And from what I hear in recent videos from various people, was they were more into taking more of a risk with club funds. Which my one big criticism of Daniel Levy was that when we've been in a position to go further and get to the heights that we wanted to, he hasn't been brave enough to push the boat out just a little bit extra and take that risk to do it. I think these two, from what I'm hearing, are more inclined to want to take that risk. And also what I'm hearing is that they are very much Tottenham supporters.
Right.
So I think this has all been building up since this group was brought in. And I think they've come to a decision that, no, we want to change. Thank you, Daniel, for all you've done. But we want a fresh challenge sort of thing, a fresh sort of start. I mean, you could say when they got in Vinny as the CEO, that might have been the first part of it, maybe. Now, whether Daniel knew this was going on, I honestly don't know. You'd think that something as big as this, he would have some sort of idea. But having said that, where I work, the CFO was there one day and not there the next day. So, these things can happen really, really quickly. So I think that's what's been going on. It's interesting what Thomas Frank says about it on Friday at the press conference. I mean, obviously he won't be able to say everything, but you do wonder if he knew what's going on, or I mean, the rumor is that Romero, when he found out, signed a new contract. I don't think that's true, but yeah, you do wonder how many people behind the scenes knew it was happening, and if Daniel Levy did know it was going to happen, how long did he know it was going to happen? I mean, he was still involved in the transfer dealings at the end of the window. And right. I'm just wondering, you could even say, and I've got no proof of this whatsoever, but you could even say that after the Eze debacle, and despite Eze obviously wanting Arsenal, it was a debacle, that whole transfer business. The Morgan Gibbs White, although not really our fault, went on for too long. And then maybe they thought that was the last straw. And then maybe it's really weird how the Xavi Simons deal went through really quickly. So it's almost like he was saying, oh, no, I can do it. And they've sort of said, no, that's it. That was your last chance. Bye-bye sort of thing. But I guess we'll never know until the biopic comes out in 5 or 6 years' time. So
that's some fine opening statements from you, Brad. And funny that I failed to mention, actually, that you're right. An independent group of some sort, almost like lack of a better term, like consultants came
Yeah,
in to
yeah.
look at the club. And funny enough, I think they were Americans, they were Yanks that had come in, to look at the club. And they decided that maybe Daniel Levy should be seen as redundant or should be
Well,
someone that they need to move on.
one thing I know Americans like doing more than anything is win. So if
Win
you
or
look at
destroy everything. It seemed like
while
they
winning,
decide to cut
so
the head off of the
if you
snake.
look at the two trophies in the Daniel Levy tenure, then that's obviously not good enough. And I think they must have thought, well, hey, that's not good enough, despite all of. And we'll talk about Daniel Levy later, but yeah, despite all the stuff that's happened, at the end of the day, it's a football club that have got to win trophies, and we just haven't. And that's really, no one should really have survived 25 years if a club's only won 2 trophies in that time. Right.
What's kind of funny too, Eugene and Ryan, is that when this happened, I kind of was then thinking, ooh, maybe there were hints of this happening, over the summer or over the course of the last year, of course, with the benefit of hindsight, right? But I was thinking, maybe that Gary Neville interview was done intentionally so that he could give himself some praise before he leaves, But then we're hearing from people like Vinay Venkatesham that this was something that came unexpected. Vinay was saying, I was expecting to work with Daniel Levy for a long time, for many years. And I don't know where to stand on this. I mean, do you think, Eugene and Ryan, that Daniel Levy expected this? I think that's the place I'd want to start off first, and then we move into some other things about Levy.
Go on, Eugene, you can start, mate.
Yeah, so I have probably a bit of a different view on things than Brad. Again, just kind of an opinion. I wanted Levy out as much as anyone, right? But I don't think like Levy's not an employee. He can't just be told, by the way, don't come in on Monday. He's a 30% owner, so you cannot just fire an owner, right? Um, and as much as Levy was an issue, which he was the biggest issue, I feel like he might be thrown under the bus a bit by ENIC, because now we're talking about the children of Joe Lewis. Let's be clear, Vivian is 62. She's not 18. So when we say children, it's a bit misleading, right? They're not children, right? She's 62, and I believe she's a Liverpool fan. She doesn't show up to games or maybe once or twice. So the notion that, oh, they're Tottenham fans now, they want to invest money, personally, I don't buy it. And the reason is if Joe Lewis or the children wanted to invest, they could have done it when Levy was here. I do not see Levy would say, no, you know what? I don't want more money. Again, he is a minority stakeholder. ENIC had an opportunity to invest. Yes, Levy, was running the negotiations, this and that, but the money available to the club, ENIC controlled it. And there was no investment before. So Levy's gone, which is great. Now we can hopefully do business with other clubs who don't want to deal with Levy, like City, Palace, etc. However, the biggest issue is ENIC in my mind. Now, what happened between them and Levy, I don't think we'll ever know. I don't listen to any PR that's coming out, right? It's like both sides have their own narratives. But at that level, it's not about money, it's an ego driven thing, I believe. Now, personally, I think when we saw Donna Collins step down, I think that was a part of the plan with Levy as well. I don't think that was just a random occurrence, right? I believe this was planned. And I believe for whatever reason, whether he was forced out or not, I believe this was in the works for a while. What bothers me a bit, or what's concerning, is that the narrative from the club is all over the place. Where Vinay said, I had no idea what was happening, which is strange because he was hired as a CEO. So I would assume that CEO would know what's happening in the club. And now we have different statements from the club. It just seems like there is no, as we've seen before, there is no plan or coherent messaging from the club, which makes us wonder what actually happened. Was he forced out? Was he not forced out? Like, it just doesn't seem to be handled in a professional manner that I would expect from a £5 billion organization, which makes me nervous and makes me question what's going to happen now? So Levy's gone. Who's the next fall person or fall guy? Is it going to be Vinay? Is it going to be Charrington? Who's going to be that person? So we can all hope that ENIC suddenly, after 25 years, is changing their ways and they're going to want to invest in the club. Me personally, I am not as hopeful. My biggest hope is this move happened because they wanted to sell. It came out, from the press. It was clear that there were a couple of bids earlier, and Levy was the reason why Bowley, for example, didn't buy us because Levy wanted to stay as a chairman, and Bowley said no. Qatari or Saudis. So there were bids in the past where Levy was the blocker of those bids. So that I'm hoping that he was let go because of that a bid isn't coming and they won't accept the bid. Right. However, if what they're saying is true, that they do not want to sell, I do not believe that ENIC and Vivian and whoever else all of a sudden will change their ways and invest in the club. So we'll see what happens. To summarize my soliloquy, like, I'm glad that Levy's out. I wanted him out for a long time. However, now, as the dust settles, we will see if Levy was the issue or if the issue was with ENIC and it was a bigger thing.
I mean, it's kind of funny that you did mention that the CEO, you would think, has a good idea of what's going on. He's only been in the job for so long, but you're right. He probably would have an inkling of what's going on, or there's just, I guess, that much change at the minute that maybe they didn't want to let him know what was going on, and they're just going to sort of give him now the responsibility, and he doesn't have to worry about overstepping or having someone like Daniel Levy to worry about. He can now sort of take on the burden or the task that is Tottenham Hotspur. I find it funny, Jason Bell's comment saying there's a lot of change in the board over the past year or two. We really don't know if it was a palace coup or a planned change and smokescreen, and maybe think of Julius Caesar type of situation that maybe is going on with Daniel Levy. But Ryan, just on that point, and then we'll move on to some other Daniel Levy type questions. Do you think Daniel Levy saw this coming?
Look, right, like I said to you in the back, right? I said what I had to say in the back about him, and like I said, I will not be repeating what I said in the back because I do not want to get you cancelled. But I've got to the situation where now that he's gone, best thing that could have happened. I have to agree with Eugene on this, and I thought we was going to disagree, and starting off with agreeing is a really good start.
Do you agree with what Eugene said, that it is a little worrying that Vinay, the current CEO, maybe had no idea that this was happening? Is that worrying to you, or is that not as big?
To be honest, I don't care what Vinay has got to say. I don't care what anyone else has got to say. Right, what I care about now, right, is selling up, get Saudis in, and let's move on.
So it goes deeper for you. You want ENIC out as well.
I want them gone now. I've always wanted Levy out, but I've also wanted ENIC out. And to say that it's going to change under Charlie and Vivian, come on. We've taken the snake's head off. Now let's finish the snake off. We've taken the head of the snake off.
The head, right? He was maybe a tail or an arm, right? The head is...
See, this is where I disagree with you. I believe he's the head. I believe he was the head. Now you're just trying to argue with me, and it ain't. And I can't be asked to go down that way tonight. Look, but like I said, I've agreed with you up to now, right? But I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree that he was the head, and now let's get rid of the rest of the body of the snake, because I'm done with listening to what about Charlie and Vivian. People were saying that they're Tottenham fans. Oh, come on. Right. If they were,
this is what many reputable reporters have said. Vivian Lewis goes to a lot of games. She's been on pre-season tours.
Yeah.
This is what reputable journalists have said.
Brad, I don't care what journalists have to say. It could all be just a PR stunt, mate. Look, right, where I go with this now, right, just get rid of ENIC altogether. I couldn't give two flying monkeys at this point. Let's get the Saudi money in. Let's start this. Let's take a clean break. Let's just get the whole new system in. Let's then go out and buy players. We'll just where we overpay. I don't give a damn about overpaying. Right? Let's get some Let's overpay for players like Rodrigo. Let's overpay for players like, I don't know. I'm just plucking money out of the air, right? But look, where I will go with this, and I said this on my channel, right, the other day, or if it wasn't mine, it was someone else's. But what I said was, right, with an ownership, if we get a takeover, we will have that freelance of having that whatever you get now, where you have the 3-year period. I can't remember what they called it, but we with the FFP is what I'm talking about. The FFP, the 3-year bit. I don't know if anyone knows the actual name for it, but you got freelance of 3 years.
I'm not sure what you're referring to be honest.
But anyway, right, where we the position we're in now, though, where I'm trying to get at with this is getting the new owners in, right? I'm just plucking a number out of the air here, right? We are in the green, right? So far in the green, right? I don't know how much we are in the green, but this is why I'm just plucking out a random number, right? Just say we're in the green by 1 billion, right? Let's just say we are. I'm not saying we are, but I'm just saying let's just use that as a hypothetical situation, right? We could spend 500 million in January, and then spend another 500 in the summer to boost this team up. We could, but like I said, that's only a hypothetical number that I've picked up out of the sky. It probably isn't anywhere near $1 billion because, I mean, Levy wasn't that good at saving money, was he? He wasn't that bad at keeping hold of it either. Let's put it like that.
I think he had a great reputation of saving money, actually. I think that was kind of the whole remit, why people really didn't like Levy. But let's move on to just maybe who might have made the decision. Do we think, Brad, you were talking about, the journalist that brought up these Lewis family members? We never heard much about them before until now. Do you think it was them that made the decision?
Vivian Lewis, as far as I'm aware, is the CEO of the Tavistock Group, which own ENIC, which own Tottenham, effectively. Joe Lewis has had no say in what the club has done since he put all of his stuff into his family's sort of trust funds. So, and that was, I think, 2022 that was all happening. So I think even though Daniel Levy can be removed as chairman by the shareholders effectively, and the major shareholders are ENIC, and who owns ENIC? Well, the Lewises do. So it's quite conceivable that with Joe Lewis out of the picture, and we maybe Joe Lewis put those reins on Daniel Levy, because don't forget Daniel Levy was employed as the chairman of Tottenham, but also as the head guy of ENIC. So Joe Lewis will put the reins on how much he can spend, blah 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 blah, and Levy has to toe that line effectively. Now, I'm not excusing him, don't get me wrong, but now that we have the children in charge, maybe they're, as I say, they're a bit more risk of it, a bit more risk, want to take more risks, and they will actually untighten the reins for whoever's running it, which apparently seems to be Vinny, seems to be the guy who's going to be running the thing, because Charrington is a non-executive chairman, so that means he's not involved in the day-to-day running of the club. And as I've read, he's apparently the big money man at ENIC and Tavistock sort of thing. But so we just at the moment we just have to accept what, as I said, reputable journalists have said, that the Lewis family are Tottenham supporters, and they don't forget they've also got 2 children as well that are Tottenham supporters. So we just got to go with that. And I look, we just have to. I mean, everyone's been going on about, Levy out, and fair enough. And as soon as he's gone, everyone's worried about what's going to happen next. Well, you've got to go with it now for a while and see.
I had a theory just on this though, that if maybe the daughter or one of the Lewis family members has now decided they do want to have more responsibility or more involvement with the actual proceedings of the football club. One thing that I think we would all agree with is for a long time now, Daniel Levy has just been, in a sense, just always associated with anything that goes wrong at Spurs, and has always kind of just been this constant source of whatever you call it, maybe just controversy, and everything from the mass protests to when transfers go wrong or don't go right or whatever it might be. Daniel Levy is a constant source of, in a way, kind of bad PR for the football club. And we've even heard and learned that certain clubs don't even like dealing with Spurs because of what Daniel Levy would be like. And I just wonder if one of these people behind the scenes,
Sorry, that's a very good point, Jack, because I don't think any of the chairmen of all the other football clubs want to deal with him anymore. So if you
were taking over, you would be like, I have to get rid of this guy to clean up the place.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I mean, if Eugene or Ryan or Brad, do you want to bounce off? That's just my theory, that if you were someone that was taking something over, you would almost want a clean slate to the best of your ability, because Daniel Levy was so associated with everything that was going on with the club that maybe you do have to just get rid of the guy that to give yourself the best possible chance of succeeding.
See, look, I don't look. I get it, right? Where people were all blaming Levy, right? But now, right? If it goes wrong now, who do we blame? ENIC? Because I'll certainly be the first one on their backs. I will be the first one on their backs. And do you know what? This is why I'm saying we need to have a clean break. Let's just get. I don't care about what anyone says, right? When it comes to the press, right? They can say what they like. They can say whatever they like. They can get away with literally anything almost. And I don't want to be having any more ENIC talk, any more anything. I want them gone. I don't think it. Do you know what? I don't think change for Tottenham should stop. I think they need to get help now. Get their hell back out there. Protest every single home and away game to get ENIC out. I don't care about Vivian. I don't care about Charlie. I don't care if his name
you made that point. Yeah.
No, but do you know what I mean? I don't care what their names are. They could be anything for all I care. They could be Radiator for all I care. But I don't now. I would love to see some Saudi money coming through. I would absolutely love it. Simple as. That's all I can say. I can't say no more.
I think that's come very clear. But unfortunately, to your dismay, Ryan, it seems like people behind the football club, the ENIC crew, maybe they're going to give it a go. They're going to give it a shot. Will we now see, Eugene, better decisions made when it comes to the actual football side of things? Will we, within the next year or two, notice Spurs getting deals over the line quicker, maybe forking out a bit more money than they did before? Some people said we did fork out a lot of money in the past, but just wasn't ever invested in the right areas. Do you think just the day-to-day decision-making around the actual football team we'll see improvements in?
I hope so. It depends who is now in charge of footballing operations. If it's Vinay, it depends who the director of football is. If Paratic is coming back, or whether they just want a clean slate. I think many will agree, or my perspective is that where Levy failed is on the pitch. Where Levy failed is hiring footballing people who can make footballing decisions. He was too involved in footballing operations, right? So I think everybody can agree. What I'm wondering, and my concern, is that, again, he's a 30% owner. All his money is in the club. He doesn't have cash of his own, right? So all the investment that will be coming in outside of any of the deals that the club is making and the concerts would be from ENIC. And they were MIA up until this point. So the question is, why now? Why are the kids coming out right now? Why is Levy stepping out right now, or stepping down right now? What's causing, all the changes? Why is Sherrington on the board right now? So just using, I'm just trying to be logical about these things, why those things are happening, right? For me, I'm hoping it's a sale, because otherwise, why would Sherrington come in? Like, why would Vinay come in at this point? So again, for me, it's a sale. If it's not a sale, I'm worried. Again, given that the loan that we just took out, it screams of cash flow issues.
I don't know if
So
there's cash flow issues. I don't think there's any cash flow issues. Spurs are one of the more profitable clubs in
cash
Europe,
flow
but it's
meaning
more
I would say it's more smells
what
of
extra money would
desperation.
they be willing to pull out of their own pockets,
well,
out of their own trust?
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
What Tottenham have done, and I said this backstage, but I'll say it again. What Tottenham have done, from what I understand, is what a lot of clubs do, and that is they employ a bank or a factoring company to give them the money that they're owed by creditors, or in this case, the Premier League for TV money. They get given the money straight away, and then that factoring company or that bank, they chase the bills effectively, or chase to get the money from them. It's done in business. A lot of small businesses do it. A small business will employ a factoring company. So if a creditor owes them £500, £5,000, the factoring company will give them the £5,000, and then the factoring company will chase the creditor to get the money off them. It works a lot, and this is what I think this £98,000 or £90,000 is. I don't think it's a loan. It's not, and because we're paying interest, very low interest on the loans for the ground. So they're not going to change that anytime soon. But I think as far as raising the next group of funds, probably from what I understand, and again, I'm only going what people that in the know or people that know what they're talking about have said. I think it'll be similar to what we did 3 years ago when they had a share issue, where they basically changed the value of the share. I don't really understand how it works. They change the value of the shares, and it means you get an extra 100 million, 150 million, whatever it might be. So I think that might be what might be where the money comes in, unless there are, of course, and they've, even under Daniel Levy, they were always talking about looking for a small time investment. So maybe that's on the cards. Maybe there's some small time investment coming in. Who knows?
Just last thing on this, Jack, if you don't mind. So, I worked for many companies. I manage people, work for big organization. When there is a reorg, when something changes, when CFO steps down, CEO steps down, the next day, the day after, there is a unifying message from the company, right?
Oh, yeah.
There is an effort to make sure that the PR is on the same page. Like when everybody speaks, everybody knows what the messaging is. And again, as I said earlier, my concern is we're hearing certain things from the journalists who, let's be real, they get their talking points from the club, not even talking points, but information from the club, right? And then on the other hand, the CEO comes in and says, oh, by the way, I had no idea what was happening, which is the opposite. So again, my concern is for organization, such as this club, for this big organization, that varying narratives and talking points make me wonder what's happening, who's in charge, what the plan is, and what's going on.
Well, did everyone see the interview with Vinny? I mean, he's obviously not going to say. He's not going to say what we want to hear him and say, oh, yeah, well, we're going to change it all now. We've got loads of money, going to buy loads of players. Of course, he's not going to say that. It's going to be tinged with a bit of corporate speak.
Well,
but I found it was a lot more transparent than what we've had in the past. We couldn't even get a word out of Daniel Levy. So, we've got to be, let's be positive about small things.
Brad, that's fair.
Eugene is saying he was being too transparent by
No, but it's not even that. My concern is, look, if Vinay would come out and say, yeah, Levy is gone, but this was in the works for 6 months. Me and him talked about it. There is a plan in place. This is who's going to replace him. This would give me a vibe of, okay, the club the club is handling things, right? If that would be his messaging. But when he comes out and says, this was a shock to me, I had no idea what's going on, that puts him in a different light. It's like, hey, why, what's the reason for him to say this? Why not say, hey, be calm, everything is good, this was all planned, right? Versus, I'm shocked, which is a completely different messaging from him. So I'm wondering, what's the purpose of that, and why would he say that?
Maybe it's the only way I looked at it. I don't think he came across as being shocked. I mean, he sort of said, I didn't work with Daniel as long as I thought I would. I mean, I don't think he didn't sort of come out with, "Oh my God, what happened there?"
Yeah, maybe we could be overreading it. What he said.
I think it was as far as club statements go, and let's face it, we don't get a lot of them. I thought it was not that bad. Even when they asked him about money and funds in the scheme, he said, "Well, I obviously can't talk about the war chest, which you always because that obviously gives away to other clubs, that we got money and they put their prices up." So I just think we have to as I said, we've all been going on about Levy out, and suddenly he's out, and it's, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Oh shit, well, maybe he's going to be worried about that. He shouldn't have wanted Levy out in the first place. I personally have wanted Levy out. He's gone now. Shocked me as much as it shocked everybody. So let's hope that what we're reading and hearing about the new owners or the new people are more positive and more risk. We're going to take more risks. And let's see what happens. We probably won't see anything until the January transfer window, and see what happens then.
Yeah, it is kind of funny, that picture that you're painting of like asking for someone or something to go, like, oh, like demanding it for years. And then when it actually does happen, everybody's like, well, what are we going to do now? It's like,
I mean, just sorry to go on all the time, but someone actually did say, well, be careful what you wish for. But it gets to a stage, and after 25 years, you've got to take that risk and say, no, I want change now. I want to see Levy go and see what happens.
Change is good and it's exciting, right? I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with anything. But again, I just want to caution everyone from the narrative that Vivian, who's 62, all of a sudden developed appetite for risk and wants to invest money into Tottenham and is a lifelong Tottenham fan.
Could be a midlife crisis.
Like, this has not happened before. It's just that, to me, doesn't really make sense.
I
hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I heard this about the Jola's children. I heard this thing about being more into risk probably about a year and a half ago. So I don't think it's been just suddenly come up now.
Yeah, I mean, they life is coming at them fast, and all of a sudden maybe they do want to spend the tons of amount of money that they may have now. All of a sudden,
but why? Why would they want to spend their own money? Like,
well, I mean, people don't think the same way forever.
More money
that's
the
point. Maybe all of a sudden they've had a change of heart. People do have a change of heart. People might actually have a change of how they feel about what their investments are in. It's not like they just stay true to it forever. People make drastic decisions and changes. Rain Man, do you have anything to say on this? Like, Eugene just seems concerned about, whether Vivian and these people behind the scenes actually will be that much different, really.
I love the way that they're called kids. The kids.
Exactly.
And they're older than me. I'm an old man. I do think there's I think there's a lot of speculation over things that we don't really know what's going on. I mean, obviously, I've been to various protests, and that was always for me about what I'd seen in the past, and I didn't want it to be to happen into the future. In terms of, I think a lot of people are trying to get their heads around the fact that we've gone from a king. I may have spoken about this before that it's a very human trait. We've gone from a king perspective. Levy is the king of everything, and therefore he's responsible for everything. And we've gone from that, and people are trying to get their heads around who's the new king. And I just don't want us to have a king. I want us to have a CEO who looks after all the commercial stuff, a CFO who makes sure that we're financially sound, a director of football who has a vision for the playing squad that we're going to have, both at academy and at experience level, and a coach who delivers stuff on the pitch. And for us, I just want us all to get away from talking about the off the pitch stuff. In terms of, but obviously, I've worked in corporate finance for my whole career, and I can tell you this now, 100%, that these moves do not happen slowly. These moves do not happen quickly in like and they do happen slowly. They are planned over a long period of time.
Do you think Levy had any idea then?
I think he must know. He must have known, and if he didn't know, then he knew. Do you know what I mean? He's not
like they didn't tell him, but he could figure it out.
Yeah, he's not a stupid man, right? You know, I know when people are moving against me. I know when people are moving against me in and around our departments. And everybody else should be able to know.
Do you think this may have started happening when Joe Lewis put his trust, or in the family trust?
So, if I was to speculate, I would say, everybody's been the other fallacy that I've been hearing is why are Enoch or the Lewis family doing it now, as if the Lewis family act as a single entity. Because I don't know about anybody else's bloody family, but mine can have an argument. I have more argument. There's more arguments in my. I've got a big family. There's more arguments in my family than there would be, if I walked down and started shouting at people in the street. Historically, Lewis was in charge, unequivocal. He would have. He was absolutely in charge. It's absolutely clear. And it's what's also absolutely clear is that over the last 2 to 3 years, Joe Lewis has stepped back. So it's absolutely possible that these new people, whether they're family or not, doesn't really matter, have a slightly different perspective on how to run things. What I do believe is that it's all about property. It's all about property development. That's what it's always been about. That's what it always will be about. The football, what happens on the pitch is incidental. The stadium is a driver for capital sort of accretion of increase in their investments. And if I was them, I'd currently be looking at a juicy 4 or 5 billion amount of capital, which is assets. Remember, there's a whole load of things about they're wealthy. They're not wealthy until they realise that value. At the moment, and I suspect that there's people looking at that 4 or 5 billion and thinking we should be getting a chunk of that, and the only way you get a chunk of it is to sell it.
See, the only problem is I don't. Where I don't agree with a few things is that are Enoch going to change? No, because a leopard never changes its spots.
But maybe it's a new leopard. It's different people now.
True. I don't think that's true, Ryan. I don't think that's true because it's like there's been many businesses, right, where they've had new leadership and the business has changed completely. The business has decided they're going to go in a different direction. It's happened many times, and I don't think, Ryan, you may be right. You may be right. Okay, we're speculating, right, mate? We're both, saying what we think could potentially be, and we could both be right or both be wrong or both, whatever. But it doesn't. Enoch is not a thing. It's not a single entity. It's not like a person. And if the people change, then and circumstances change, then what Enoch does can change.
Yeah. See, that's why. But this is what I don't believe is going to happen. I don't think anything's going to change until we get, like I've said, and I know you've probably missed what at the first half an hour of what I said. Yeah. Right, and I would say this one more time. I'm sorry about to everyone else that's already heard what I've said, but I just want a whole new regime. I want a clean break. We've taken the snake's head off. Let's just clear the rest of it out. Let's get Saudi money in, and let's just start over again. That's what I believe needs to happen, Raymond.
I think there's a good chance that happens, Ryan. I think there's a good chance that all of this is leading up to and somebody else taking my money for red or black, Jack, right? I was right about Sonny, right? 100% right about Sonny. Was I not? 100%. I had every single part of the timeline spot on, and that was well in advance. My money would be on a Saudi investor, or probably a Middle Eastern investor, but certainly an external investor coming in and taking over the football operations and stadium. So
they have been approached apparently over the summer for a full takeover, but have come out and said that they have no plans of selling. You don't think that's totally true? That they have no plans?
No. I think they don't want to sell the property development. So Tottenham Hotspur is like a whole load of businesses, right? It's a whole load of businesses. Not just, we think of it as a football club. It's not. It's a whole load of businesses, and the business that they will not want to let go of because it's the one that's going to grow and make the most amount of money for them is property. But for a Saudi investor, or even potentially an American investor, the football operations and the stadium being able to hold being able to hold more boxing matches, being able to have more Beyonce, right? And the kudos
system of a down now
that comes with having all of that, right? And we've recently gone from 16 to 32 events. That is worth something even more than money to some of these people.
So it could be that sometimes the football side of things is almost an inconvenience because it's another part that they have to focus their attention on. Whereas if they got someone else in that could take on a lot of the burden of the spending on the actual football side of things, that could relieve them of a lot of stress.
What Brian TTV 001 has just said in chat. Yeah, and if I had to go about anything, it would be that they would have that they're looking for that it's most attractive. It's most attractive. Exactly, everybody's saying it now. It's most attractive for a US investor because of the way it's been set up. A US investor to come and look after the football operations and the stadium, and then that would also give them the ability to extend the stadium to be used for NFL, which is
that would be terrible. Would you say that the success of the football team would increase the value of the properties around there? So, in other words, it's advantageous for the football team to do well.
No, I don't personally think so. I think they're currently getting 60 odd thousand people traveling through on a repetitive basis. I think the thing that would make the property, the valuation of the property go up is the bloody transport links.
But look, Raymond, if this was only about real estate, like, why would Levy be let go? Like, if it's that simple, I think, again, just my opinion, but the only reason for ENIC or the board or whoever to force Levy out is if he was the impediment to something, right?
Yeah.
Now, he's definitely not the impediment to property development. He's not the impediment to NFL because he's been the one driving all that. But we do know in the past he was the impediment to takeover and overall sales. So them saying that they don't want to sell, I don't buy it. I think they just want to drive up the price. So I do think, again, just thinking logically to why Levy had to go, again, to me, if real estate was at play, Levy would be kept because that's his thing. He knows how to do it. The only reason why, again, in my mind, makes sense for the Levy to be forced out is if he was the impediment to the actual sale of the whole thing. And getting, I know like in the chat, people talking about getting NFL owners, and that would be a terrible move for the club. Just knowing NFL owners, like American franchise model is way different than the Prem model. There's a salary cap in American sports, so owners are not required to invest as much of their money. A lot of the stadiums are built based on tax revenue from, just public taxes. It's a different beast. So if somebody like Jerry Jones or whoever comes in, it's not like not everybody's Todd Bowley, right? That's why I'm for salary.
Questions.
I was going to answer part of it. I was just going to use your point from earlier, Rain Man, and then let you in and Brad and Ryan. But to answer part of Eugene's question, I wonder if whoever that Vivian and the others that are now taking over, I wonder if they felt like Levy was in a way creating this lack of clear divisions and lines of who's responsible for what. So they bring in someone like Vinay, who is in charge of the football club CEO. You have your CFO, you have your directors of football, but we felt like Daniel Levy sort of invaded and sort of had his fingerprints on all of that. And if they wanted to, let's say in your case, Brayman, if they do really just want to focus their attention on the property development of things, eventually develop the club enough as well on the football side of things so that it can be sold to someone, and they just feel like Daniel Levy's just getting in the way of all of that, or at least has his fingerprints in all of those pots, it makes it very difficult for them to feel like it's being run in the proper way for this eventual takeover, whatever they have planned to come. The idea that they now have Vinay and just these clear divisions, clear roles is a good thing maybe for the club in essence, because Levy, we knew, had his hands in all these different pots.
So they can now appoint somebody who looks after the stadium, right? If we separate, let's say football operations, right? So football operations is Tottenham Hotspur as we know it, the football team. But then if you have it, then there's a stadium operations, which is all of the other stuff, plus the way they'll set it up is they'll probably lease the day-to-day use of the stadium to the football operations as part of the intergroup. So what they've done is removing this king of all, they can now go, right, we've now got the football operations bit. That's Vinay's. That Vinay's the CEO of that. We now need somebody who's a CEO of all of the non-football operations in the stadium, all of the concerts and all that kind of the go-kart track, and that person can deal with all of that, and then they can have somebody who looks after the property, and they can actually start separating out these bits of business, which they couldn't do.
But why, Rainman? I guess the beauty of this is they can sell it as one big package. That's the attraction of the Spurs. They can say to Saudi investors or Qataris, whoever, look, you're getting property, you're getting the stadium, you're getting everything. Why would they want to split it up? I guess that's a question for you.
Well, it's too much. It's very rare that a business gets sold wholesale. It's usually that aspects of the group get hived off. So it's a 4-5 billion pound company now. So you need somebody with 4 or 5 billion pounds to buy it, but you don't need somebody with 4 or 5 billion pounds to take over football operations or the stadium operations. They can become a minority interest in the overall group and have controlling rights of one of the aspects. That's where my money would be.
Yeah, this is the fan speculation show. Tonight we don't. It's really that's what it is. I actually do find these conversations a bit more entertaining than some of the Daniel Levy conversations of the past. To be honest, I think this has all been fun theorizing and speculation.
can I just quickly ask you something? Because it was something that Eugene said about a wage cap in American sports. Is that actually true? Because
of course, that's the beautiful system where everybody's on the same footing. There's a salary cap for how much any team can spend. That's why you don't see teams like City or United who are always at the top for decades and decades.
Yeah. We have Mia joining us. Mia, welcome to the Fan Speculation Show on the Daniel Levy. It's like I was saying initially, Mia, we're putting Daniel Levy to rest. We're building his grave, and we're just speculating how it all went down, what it means for the future. I think the current little theme that we're on right now is just, do the club maybe still have plans of actually maybe selling maybe the football side of things, is what Rain Man seems to think, that maybe they still actually have some plans of selling part of the club to someone. Do you have any opinions on that? And then, of course, we're just having you join us here. So anything else that you want to touch on?
Hello to everybody. Yeah, I think it is quite complex, like what Rainman was saying, because it isn't just the footballing side, right? So it's a bit more complex than them just buying. Like, they would still sort of be somewhat involved because of they wouldn't give up the property sides of it, and the fact that that Levy is invested in ENIC only a small percentage. So is he going to sell his part? Because that's the only way they would be able to, well, they would be able to sell it, but he can't be forced to sell his percentage. He's 28%. Is that like, it's very, like I say, it's quite a complex thing with the whole situation, if that makes sense. And I do think they will sell it. I do think so, because see what they've done. I feel like they've made out that everything is Daniel Levy's fault and come across, look, we're the good guys, everybody. We want what's best for the club, guys. And I don't quite believe it. They've had it in trust for 3 years. If they wanted to step up, they could have done so. If they were named the holders in the trustee, they could have acted sooner than what they've acted. So for me, it feels like something's obviously turned the tide, and I feel like they want to be in the best position possible to sell the club. That's my personal opinion.
And anything, Brad, that you feel like you wanted to leave in on this? I only have like 1 or 2 more kind of still ENIC and Daniel Levy questions. I can move on to.
No, I just think that, as I say, I think this has been sort of brewing since Joe Lewis created the trust for his family, and they said time for a fresh start, and until I'm proven otherwise, because of what's been happening over the last 25 years, until I'm proven otherwise, I'm going to be sort of quite excited about this change, and hopefully we'll see a bit more investment. As I've always said, on the football side, my main problem with Levy was he wouldn't push the boat out that little bit extra that we needed to climb that extra rung. It's easy getting from 14th to 4th, but getting from 4th to 1st is a lot more harder. And we've been in a position, probably under Pochettino, we had that chance, and he never quite pushed the boat out. That's been my main problem with him. So I'm hoping now that, and here's a bit of speculation. This is no proof of this whatsoever. Speculation. You do wonder, the Ezzy deal didn't happen because it was basically ballsed up, and then suddenly the Sivens deal goes through quickly. Maybe they gave Daniel his marching orders then, and they took over and got the Simmons deal done.
Do you really think the Eze deal was ballsed up, though? Can I just say, right?
Oh, no, he wanted to.
Hold up. Can you just let me finish, because I'll let you. If you think about it, he wanted to go Arsenal all along. Even if we would have bought his buyout clause, he didn't really. He has to say yes. If he was waiting for Tottenham, even if we did the buyout clause, he has to agree to it. He might have still said no because he was waiting for Arsenal, because we all know that Arsenal was the destination he actually wanted.
Yeah, that's not factually correct. So with Eze, he actually agreed to personal terms with us. The reason why he went to Arsenal, he went because hold on a second. There was a 3-week period where Arsenal was not going in for him. So he agreed personal terms. If we would have wrapped up the deal then, he would be our player. The reason why
And
we
have a
didn't,
player that didn't
Levy
want to
wanted
be
to
with
change
us.
terms last minute.
It wasn't. It was actually Parish. If you see what was reported, everything said it was Parish. They were waiting for Arsenal. He rung
Why would
Arteta
Parish care
up
if it's Arsenal or us? If you pay him the
because
money,
he knew that he was going to get more money, I think, up front from them. Their deal, the terms were different to
they
ours.
matched their
That's
deal,
what was
Mia.
reported.
Their deal was the same as our deal. But just last thing, and I'll be quiet. To your point, Brad, about Simmons, I disagree because the only reason why we got Simmons is that Chelsea didn't go for him.
Yeah,
Simmons was like Eze.
conspiracy.
Simmons said he wants Chelsea, just like Eze said he wants Arsenal. The reason why we got Simmons because Chelsea didn't bid for him. If Havertz wouldn't get hurt, if Arsenal wouldn't go for Eze would be our player. It's that simple. I don't think anything changed.
Not necessarily, because like I say, even if we agreed personal terms, even if we did the buyout clause, he was hanging on and hanging on. He wanted Arsenal. He rung Arteta. Arteta confirmed that he rung him before the deal was done with us. Why is he ringing Arteta up?
I mean,
if
he wanted Tottenham, come on, man.
Yeah. But that's irrelevant.
The question is, if and we will never know the answer to this, right? We will have to go back and replay it. Have to get in our DeLorean and go back and replay various scenarios to work out whether this
essay documentary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the question we all have is, if Eze had made that phone call a week earlier before Havertz got injured, and Arsenal didn't think they needed another player, would Arteta have said yes? That's the question.
Of course not. He would not.
So. Of course he. I think they would have, because hold on, Eze, they haven't. Havertz ain't going to be injured for that long, and he's a completely different position to Havertz. So he's not a replacement for Havertz, is he? Let's be honest.
They went and got him immediately after Havertz got injured.
They weren't going for. No, he actually said it was.
He agreed personal terms with them before us. He had already agreed personal terms with them.
Chelsea agreed personal terms with Simmons. They didn't bid for Simmons. Same thing was happening with the Eze. Arsenal were not bidding for Simmons. There was a 3-week window where no bid came in. And it was widely reported that the only reason why they did, because they need a player after Havertz got hurt. So whether he wanted Arsenal or not, it's irrelevant to actually what happened. Again, Simmons wanted Chelsea.
In all honesty, not as much as Eze wanted Arsenal, and I'm glad that he didn't come to us, because I wouldn't want someone who's such an Arsenal fan. Look at his video. Look at the way he's reacted.
But that's a different issue. I agree with you on that. That's a different issue.
He clearly wanted Arsenal, man.
We did sign Matt Doherty, who was also an Arsenal fan.
Every player,
but not like that, though, Jack.
We eventually,
who's a Chelsea fanatic. We have Darren Ben.
Yeah, no one hates Spurs more than Gundy.
Every player is a fan of some team, so you cannot.
But he wanted. Didn't you hear what he said? He wanted to go back to Arsenal. He always said that because he got dropped.
That's not the point.
Because he got dropped from their academy. But he was at their academy. He wasn't just a fan. He was at their academy. It was different, man.
It doesn't matter. He cannot go if Arsenal doesn't bid for him. That's the point.
Yeah.
Arsenal were not bidding for him, so whatever he wanted is
irrelevant. How do you know they weren't waiting for us to make the deal so then they could just swoop in and get all the terms were agreed?
That's my question, isn't it? My question is, if Eze had made the phone call, I need to go to Tottenham. I'm going to Tottenham today unless you bid for me. Before Havertz got injured, would Arteta have said yes? And we just don't know the answer.
No. Are we saying that Arsenal... Wait, hold on. Are we saying hypothetically that Arsenal didn't want to bid for him, Arteta didn't want him, but after the phone call, all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, now I'm going to bid for you"? That makes no sense.
What they do, a lot of people say we've got eyes and ring us if a bid comes in for this player, and then they will come in because they're not going to they're going to wait until someone else does all the deal, gets it all done, and then because they've got all the terms and then agreed, and then all they have to do is put the price. Now a lot of times they do that. A team, look what Liverpool did to us. When they got the player, and we were all in for him, and then they swooped in. Why didn't they do it before then? Because as soon as they knew as soon as they knew we were interested, as soon as they knew we were interested, they went and swooped in. They knew they were interested in Eze before us because they already signed terms before. So they were interested.
None of us know the answers to all these statements you're making. None of us
Chelsea
know
was
the
interested in
answer.
Simmons
Because
before us.
we eventually, I think what Raymond was saying, if we eventually agreed the deal with Crystal Palace, and then that very same day Arsenal came in and agreed the same deal, and Eze chose Arsenal. And I think what Raymond is saying, what if we'd have agreed that deal a week earlier with Palace?
Would
It was
Arsenal,
reported-
Would Arsenal come in on that a week
Brad,
earlier?
it was reported that the deal was agreed, and then last minute, Levy wanted to change terms.
No,
and
that
payment
wasn't. It was
structure.
Parish that was agreeing. If you look,
No,
reported
that's not
everywhere,
how
it was
it's reported.
Parish. It's not. It was Parish that was saying it. If you read everywhere I read, it was reported. It was Parish that was changing. They were holding out and stalling and changing it.
Why would
And
Parish care
Tottenham
who
were
to sell to?
furious
Money is money. Why would Parish care
because
if
he doesn't
sells to
like
us or to
Levy
Arsenal?
as well.
Yeah.
So probably making it more awkward.
I think,
Because he honestly, if you read it, that's what was reported.
Why would Parish
I
care
think
who to sell to?
Everyche has joined the ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend list, like Ange Postecoglou. There's a lot of unfinished,
I'm
a
really
lot of
happy.
couples
I'm really
therapy
happy
that
with
needs to
Xavi
happen.
still. I'm really happy with Xavi.
Parish wanted to one up Marinakis on the we don't like Daniel Levy chairman
He's
WhatsApp group.
You guys like, you think you think
But getting back to the original point that we were talking about. What I really hope with the new organisation of Vinay as the CEO, whoever the DOF is, whether it's Lange, hopefully not, but or Paratici doesn't look like it was going to be, or somebody else. Bring Mitchell back. He's unemployed. Bring Mitchell back. I just hope that we can start talking about how effective those people are at their jobs without this shadow of somebody else sort of looming over them.
The Levy fingerprints, mentioned from before.
To get my point about Daniel Levy, I get the impression if Man City during the transfer window came in and said you can have Haaland for 30 million, right? Levy would say we'll give you 29. That's my problem with Daniel Levy, is that he always wanted to get that deal, and I think it's cost us over the years in getting the players that we might have got, which might have pushed us to that extra level.
Well, that's the question.
Can I just put a bit of balance? What about the players that he did get us for a good deal that he did actually get us? Well, there are deals that we did do that were good deals. So you've got to obviously be balanced. Yes, we did lose out on players, and I completely concur with you. But we did also get good players over the years.
I'd agree, Mia, but this is what I did want to move on to. Maybe might be my last Levy related question, is just his reputation with Spurs fans, because when you ask non-Spurs fans, a lot of them kind of seem to have high praise for Levy. But I think when you ask real Spurs fans, I think what Brad has just said there, what you have just said there, is kind of where everyone accepts the, state-of-the-art training complex, the stadium, all of that is kind of tied to his legacy. And majority of people praise him for that. But, his legacy is also on the football side of things. And there's a lot of split there with Spurs fans when it comes to Levy. Some people felt like he elevated the status of the club. He brought us from, in a sense, a bit of obscurity to then all of a sudden, being in the top 6 consistently, signing, top level managers, some of the best managers in the world, signing some incredible players, some not so incredible players. So we'll go to you, Mia, and then we'll go around the board.
And can I just say as well, someone calling me disgusting in the comments for defending Levy. No, I think it's actually pretty disgusting that people can have that opinion of somebody who is just saying about a logical point of view. Instead of trying to gap on your high horse, at least try and argue your point instead of calling me disgusting, because I think that's actually pretty disgusting in my opinion.
Sorry, I didn't actually see that until now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's fine. People are welcome to their opinions, yeah. But when people calling people something like disgusting, I think that's a really horrible word. It's like a really not nice word to say about somebody that they don't know. And my opinions, I think, are very fair and balanced. I'm quite a logical person. I try and come at it with fairness and balance. And if that means that I'm a Levy defender, then so be it, because I'm being somewhat fair about somebody. Like, I just think, it's ridiculous. But anyway, my view on Daniel Levy is that he got us into a position that we're in now, where we have come a long way from the club that he took us over as. He's brought us a long way when it comes to being able to spend money because of obviously what he did with the stadium, etc. Do I think he's taken us as far as he could have taken us? Possibly, yes, because I feel like maybe after that long, things do go stale. You need new ideas, you need new maybe ways of thinking and approaching things. Absolutely. But do I feel like he was down to everything that he did on the footballing side was down to him that we didn't win? No, because we lost on penalties. We lost in the Champions League because like there was the manager played unfit Harry Kane and we got a penalty in the first 30 seconds against us that wasn't even a penalty. So do I feel like some of the time that Levy was to blame, sacking Jose? Yes. And do I feel like that all the times we didn't win was him? No. So on the balance of things, I think he got us to a point that perhaps he couldn't take us any further, where we do need something new injected into the club, if I was going to be a fair person about it.
Would you agree with this comment? And then I'll move this on to Brad and Rainman and the rest of the crew. I mean, AZ Spurs saying Tottenham outgrew Levy, and then also there was another one saying Levy elevated us as a club. That's indisputable, but he still had to go. Is that kind of where you're at, if you were to put it shortly?
I don't know if he had to go, but I do think, yeah, somewhat maybe there was a like I say, a shortage of ideas in the way that things are approached. Because when you're at a job for a long time and you're doing things exactly the same way, nothing's going to change until it changes, right? So I wasn't ever opposed to that, but I also am opposed to seeing him as the devil incarnate, because I don't think that everything he did was with bad intentions for the club. I really don't. I just don't see him that way. I think that he got us to this point, and I don't think that we should be ungrateful for us being at that point, because when, like back in the day, we wasn't at that point. And people might say, but we won trophies before. Yeah, we did. We did win trophies, but I think that we were having some of the best times when we had Poch, and people say about that, and we didn't win trophies, and people were so happy when we did have Poch. So we got close, like I say, plenty of times, and we just didn't get over the line. And I think that's a number of things that happened because that we didn't get over the line. So yeah, in fairness, I think, yeah, perhaps we did need some new ideas, and I hope whoever comes does do that. And I hope that if we get bought, that's for the best of they want what's best for the club and what's best for the team. So that's all I hope for.
Very fair. I'll just move directionally across the panel to you, Rainman. Do you agree with it seems like a very common opinion is that, considering all his faults, he took the club as far as he could, essentially, but he had to go because of that, because he would only take us so far.
I think I think you can't disagree with what Mia said, but I think Mia dances around the crux of the point, which is, Mia used the word intent. I don't think Daniel Levy had any intention of making Tottenham Hotspur Football Club a world power. I don't think Daniel Levy had any intention of making Tottenham Hotspur Football Club a Premier League champion. I don't think Daniel Levy had any intention of making Tottenham Hotspur multiple trophy winning club. I think Daniel Levy had every intention of using the location, the nexus that is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club as a central point within a part of London that is underdeveloped, as a way to take a £50 million investment and using my money. Using my money. He has put none of his own money in. It's all financed on revenue from fans to create a £4 billion company. I think that's what Daniel Levy and anything that happened to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club was relatively incidental, as long as Tottenham Hotspur Football Club didn't impact that vision. So a lot of people, say, "Oh, he doesn't want us to become successful." No. He doesn't want Tottenham Hotspur Football Club to, become unprofitable, to have to require investments. That's where I am now. That doesn't mean that we don't get a byproduct, right? The byproduct is I get to go to the stadium, and it is better than White Hart Lane. I don't care what anybody says. It's way better. I went to both. I don't buy into the nostalgia. You know, I do get people had good times in White Hart Lane, but it's a way better stadium than White Hart Lane. So I think our benefits from what Daniel Levy has done for Daniel Levy and Enoch are incidental. They're not on purpose. Whereas if you look at Abramovich wants, and if you look at what some of the Saudis have done, you know, in terms of like the World Cup, that was not to build. You know, those businesses. That was to achieve success, so that they can also bask in the limelight whilst that success takes place. That's what I think. That I was never leaving out. I just wanted our club to modernise. Sean Maddox said it really, really well. You know, he just never modernised football operations.
Yeah, I actually agreed with that comment a lot. I think excellent opening statements from both you and Mia. Brad, summarize Levy's legacy for you.
It's difficult to disagree with Mia and Rayman. Yeah, I mean, I guess you split it into what has he done that I've really liked, what has he done that I haven't liked. I agree. I think it's an absolutely brilliant stadium. I mean, it's my ideal pub, basically, a pub that's got a football pitch attached to it, you know. So, you know, I think the stadium's brilliant. The training facilities are great. He's done a lot of stuff. I remember when Enoch took over, I remember going to see Tottenham beat Villa 4-1, and I was excited because we were going to make Europe, because we hadn't made Europe for God knows how many years. And I was so excited. Didn't even think about Champions League at that stage. And yet here we are in the last, 12 out of 14 years we've played in Europe. And I can't remember how many times in Champions, but we played in Champions League quite regularly. In fact, under Pochettino, it accepted we were going to play in Champions League. So on that respect, the club has gone forward. Now, was Levy the reason for it going forward? Obviously, no. You got the players, you got the coaches, etc., etc., etc. But he was there. And by the same token, praising him for that, you can also say no good for the fact that over 25 years, we've won 2 trophies. So, yeah, we came close with Poch. I know that. In an alternative universe, you know, maybe we might have won more than 2 trophies. But, you know, that is the bottom line of a football club. And he, at the end of the day, is a chairman of a football club. And then the other thing is that we do tend to forget the Super League that he wanted us to be in. That every fan around the world or around the country didn't want to happen. He was involved in that. Now, maybe he got wrong advice, I don't know, but he was involved in that. We had the situation where we got the highest ticket prices in virtually in the country, and for what we're watching. You know, we want to watch. You know, we watch a decent team for that, and we haven't been winning. You know, with those prices. He took away the which I think I'll be eligible for in the next few years, the concessions for the people that were over a certain age. He took that away. He did the during COVID. We had that furlough thing that it was only the outrage where they decided not to go ahead with it. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that he's done, which I haven't agreed with. So, yeah, at the end of the day, 25 years, it's time for a change. I agree. I don't think he seemed to be more, we want to get top 4. No, you should be saying we want to win the Premier League and Champions League, which he only said for the first time I've ever heard it in the interview that happened before this season. And I must admit, when I saw that interview, I thought something's up. Not what exactly happened, but I thought something's up. Something's going to change.
He knew.
Yeah. So, so he'll leave with a legacy. But on the football side, there'll be lots of criticism. I don't hate the man. You know, he's a human being. There are many people in this world I do hate, or we won't go into that. But I don't hate the man. He's a person doing his job. Just that he did his job in some ways I didn't agree, in other ways I did. But and I think it's time now for hopefully a new era. Let's see what happens.
Similar to Mia, he's not the devil reincarnate like some people made him out to be for for you. I did find this funny, just when I get to then, Eugene, it's just, I remember I was listening to someone who isn't a Spurs fan, did say this, though, when it comes to how he's elevated the club in terms of maybe its general status, is that the fact that Spurs were one of the first teams to be included in the Super League when that was being drafted up, he said was a real sign of actually how far he had brought the football club, because 15, 20 years ago, Spurs would not have been one of the first teams in the European Super League list. So that really did show.
Yeah, but
Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
well,
I did laugh at that.
We were one of the instigators of the creation of the Premier League. You know, Tottenham Hotspur has always been a top 6 side. It's just there's ups and downs, right? Look at Man United at the moment; they're on a bit of a down.
Yeah, that's fair.
There
are bad decades and good decades.
Yeah, the painting Tottenham and in the 80s, Tottenham Hotspur were absolutely a top 6 side. It's just that Liverpool hoovered up all the frigging trophies during that time. I'm not having this. He's brought us into the top 6. It's where we've always been.
Maybe the inverse could be said then of Manchester City, right? Where Manchester City, if this European Super League were created in the 80s and 90s, they would not have been anywhere close to it, that sort of thing. Whereas now, they're one of the first teams to be thought of in that regard. So that's fair, actually. Maybe a good counter. Eugene, his legacy. I'm curious what you have to say.
I'm probably the most radical on the panel. Well, maybe Rhino is. Look, just kind of a metaphor for the whole thing.
We're saving the best till last.
I went to London last season with my son for the game, right? We got the hospitality tickets, right? Super fancy. So we go on, 3-course meal, like everything, like world-class amenities. However, there was no, like, the soul of the club wasn't there. I couldn't go and tell my son, hey, look, there's a statue of, like Tottenham legends. There was nothing that, for new fans that are coming in, for my son, even for myself, who I'm a pretty new fan, there was nothing in the stadium that spoke about our history. It was more about, people eating 3-course meals and getting free beers. And most of them didn't even care about the game. They were just sitting there and chatting about nothing. And my son turned to me and he's like, why am I the loudest here? So that's kind of what Daniel Levy is to me. World-class amenities, but on the footballing side, the history, the soul of the club isn't there. So when I look at any CEO or a chairman, and again, like I said, I worked for many companies, you cannot be a micromanager and succeed. And there's stories where Levy was going to the new stadium while it was being built to talk about which flooring he wants, right? Yeah. So to me, the failure of Levy on the footballing side isn't just lack of trophies, because again, I blame Poch, I blame everybody, right? It's a single game, anything can happen. The failure is the structure, the micromanagement. He was firing managers every 18 months. Paul Mitchell, what he said, the directors of football, he is too much of a micromanager to hire people, good people, and trust them. We had the same issue with the recruiting team forever. Our medical team has been shambles forever. So his failure is, the biggest one in my mind is not hiring good people, hiring stooges, and not trusting those people to do their jobs and meddling in those affairs. So that's a failure as a CEO and a chairman. Now,
Eugene,
hold just 1 second. Just let me finish. Sorry, Brad. I'm in a roll. And so then also, look, all these concerts, everything, I'm all for it, as long as the money goes into the football club. We spend 40% of the turnover, what we make goes into wages, which is the lowest in like top 10 teams, right? That's on Levy. Joe Lewis is a passive owner. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want to be asked for money. So Levy controls the purse strings. 40% turnover to wages ratio for a big club is laughable. And that's on him, right? capping away. We do spend money on transfers. Obviously, we're not City or Liverpool. But if you look at the transfers, the biggest transfers, and Ndombele, Richarlison, Solanke, right? After we finished 5th under Enge, and we had all these injuries, we knew we needed depth. We only signed Solanke as a starter. However, we spend big money on kids. That's Levy, right? That's the direction of the club. That's dictated by him, because this is not just happening once. It's been happening for a long, long time. Spending big money on kids with low wages. That directly impacts success on the pitch. When Poch was not backed for 3 years, right? So when we lost the Champions League final, I was really upset, but I wasn't devastated because I thought, you know what? We have a great team. We're going to come back again. What we did not come back because Levy did not add to the squad. Again, that's on him.
Can I
That's on
just say
anybody
that's
else.
not true? That is disingenuous because he added Lo Celso and he added Ndombele, both who Poch wanted straight after the Champions League.
Okay, how many people did we
Not
lose?
correct.
Who did
Pardon?
we lose? We lost most of that squad. So again,
But
no transfers.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just
Hold on,
correcting
for
you
3
what you
seasons.
just
Is
said.
that right?
That wasn't true.
No transfers for 3 years under Poch. Is that accurate?
Three
Go on.
windows. It was 3
Three
windows.
windows.
I mean, yeah. So, but again,
But
my
Eugene,
point is, again, I'm done. But just my point is, if you just look at the club structure, firings and hirings, micromanagement, controlling the purse strings, as a chairman and a CEO, he gets the plaudits when things go right. But given how he ran the footballing operations, it's a shambles compared to what it can be for a club like us.
I think a lot of people agree with the micromanagement point that you made, though. I think Ali Gold even said that, like that came out.
Did you get a chance to actually go around the ground? Because look, half your luck being in hospitality, that's brilliant. But if you actually go into the areas around the ground, you can actually walk around the whole ground, and there is a fair bit of history. There's a lot of old programs, a lot of history about the club, the ground being built. The concourse.
There's a lot of murals inside as well.
Yeah, a lot of stuff inside there.
Yeah.
The ground that you walk on is made from the aggregate from the old stadium, and there's even in the towards the top of, I'm not sure where it is. There's even where the actual centre spot was on the old White Hart Lane. So there is a bit of history around the club.
I would just say that from my perspective, the 3 windows where we didn't sign anybody were actually 3 of our most successful windows in the last 10, 15 years. I think, if you look at what happened afterwards, we actually succeeded like directly afterwards. It was only when we actually then spent some money that we actually failed. Maybe we should just
don't give Vinay any ideas there right now. Don't give him any ideas. That's funny though. I think a lot of people were nodding their heads though on the micromanagement point that you brought up, because I listened to Alistair Gold recently, and there might have been an article that he put out where that has come out a lot, that some people behind the scenes who worked with him said they would get texts at 3 a.m. randomly about stuff, and like it's just like and he would be clearly a workaholic, a very good thing to have, but in a way did have, as I've mentioned before and maybe overused this phrase, he seemed to have his hands in too many pots sometimes as a guy who just liked to have eyes and ears over everything. And it's a good point that you said, Eugene. If you really want to have a successful company, you can't operate that way.
Yeah, you cannot. Like as a man manager, when I hire people, like it's on me to make sure they succeed. If they succeed, I succeed. But I have to trust them. I have to trust my instincts that they're the right person for the job. But once I make that decision, I have to trust their expertise. And I need to have enough self-awareness to know that I'm not an expert in certain things. And Levy, I don't know if he had that self-awareness.
I know we need to go to Ryan, but I'm just going to say, I've been saying it, since I've come on these fan shows, I've been saying one word about Levy. Everybody talks about money, and I don't think it's ever been about money. I think it's always been about ego. And Eugene, I make you spot on. A manager who's got an inflated sense of ego can't let his direct reports, can't let the people working under him do what they need to do.
He tried to make a manager play Soldado. Exactly. A good example of the micromanagement. Ryan, Rain Man saying save the best for last. Well, I think I have an idea of what you might say, but maybe you might surprise me. So what's Levy's legacy for you, sir?
Look, I'm not going to take back what I said in the background, but there is a but in this now.
Yeah,
I've had time to think about it over the last hour and a half. Look, I'm kind of thought about it, and it's difficult because, look, he's a good businessman, right? He's properties side of thing. Look, fair dues, kudos. Let's give you the props for that. Let's give you whatever the kids say, the flowers or whatever you want to give him, right? Give him a box of chocolates even. I don't care what you want to call it. But it's apart from that, I can't really see anything else that I can really give him anything else for, to be honest. And it's annoying because we could have done a lot better under Levy for the last 25 years. Look, one thing I'm actually shocked that I'm even gonna say this is when we didn't, and I have to agree with what Raymond said, when we didn't spend no money, or whoever said this, I can't remember who said this now, whether it was Eugene or Raymond said it. Okay, Eugene. When Eugene said that when we spent no money in them two windows, that they were the best two windows we had.
Look, yeah, Rain Man. Sorry, now I know your point. Yeah, Rain Man. Yeah.
Right. So, but look, I just you can't excuse that either. You really can't, because we could have. Look, I also get it from Mia's point of view, right? But it's annoying.
Sounds like you want to cry now that he's gone, Ryan. You know, it's like I said, one of your ex-girlfriends.
Oh, trust me, I would never cry over any of my exes.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
But when it comes down to the whole situation, he should have spent money. But I get it. Poch turned down players that he thought weren't going to accept. He wasn't going to accept those players. But then he should have gone out, or the scouting team should have gone out and scouted players for what Poch did want. But really, apart from that, there's not really anything else. The last thing I do want to say, though, right, and whoever's called Mia disgusting, right, please don't do that. She's a human being.
To be fair, they did say my opinion was disgusting. I'll correct them. I'll correct myself on that. But it's still pretty bad to say what I was saying about Levy was disgusting. Like my opinion of sticking up for him was disgusting. There's no need to use such a derogative word.
There is no need to use that. So if you're going to attack somebody, right, at least attack their opinion, not that person, or saying whatever, because it is bang out of order. Please don't do it. And look, I don't agree with everything that Mia says, but I don't go saying that she's this, that, or the other, or in the nicest words, I don't say that her opinions are disgusting or whatever, because I don't. I just say to Mia, like, fine, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. So please, whoever said that, I don't agree with that. So please, can you leave that at the door, please, next time? That's all I'm going to say on the matter. But Mia, I don't agree with that. And that's why I wanted to jump in at the end there to defend you at the end of the day.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
See, I'm going to come back. I think we've all said roughly the same thing, which I think it's easy to look back, but we still expect. But really looking forwards, I don't want to be talking about what the chairman. I don't want to be talking about what one person is doing, what the chairman is doing.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to be talking about what the players are doing. We barely ever talk about players anymore. Even when we talk about football matches, we generally talk about the bloody referees. Do you know what I mean? The referee makes 2 mistakes. We don't talk about the 15 mistakes that a single player made. Well, unless it's Brennan. right? We don't talk about the 15 mistakes that that the players make. As though the referees are supposed to be like these perfect, these perfect things. These
I think
gods on a
actually,
football.
seeing as the news that come out about a certain referee today, I think the less said about referees, the better.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I haven't heard
Oh, I'll tell you
David Hewitt
backstage about that if
further.
you don't know about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll just look it up. You'll see.
But to my point, I don't want to talk about Charrington as the chairman. I want to talk about has Binay got the right deals for our football club? As a CEO, has whoever Paratici been getting the right players in? Has Frank been dealing with it? I just don't want to talk about the chairman anymore, and I hope that's the outcome.
I really think a lot of you guys had some really amazing, actually, closing statements, whatever you want to call them, when we're putting Levy to rest. I really agreed with Eugene's micromanagement point.
Put him to rest.
In a way, he has. Well, I've tried to make it sound that way because so that maybe you don't have to. We don't, like Rain Man was saying. Like, I really agree with that point. That the frustrating thing maybe about Levy, the most frustrating thing, and the thing that will now be done with. Hopefully, we don't ever have to do this again when it comes to trying to figure out whatever new thing that's going wrong at Tottenham is that, like you said, it, Rain Man, there's the shadow of Levy that was always there where we felt like, is it this person's fault? Is it this person's fault? Or is it just this guy that we know has his fingerprints over everything? And maybe now that he's gone, there might be an easier lineage and hierarchy of how things work and where decisions are made, who's responsible for what, who isn't responsible for what. Because before it did feel murky with Levy, just because we knew, and it was well documented, that we knew that he did have a lot of say and a lot of influence over every single department. And then hopefully that can be a little bit different. And then I've always, no matter how many Levy streams I've done, I've also been in Mia's camp for a long time of he's gotten a lot of things wrong. I do think he's gotten a lot of things right. I don't think he's the devil reincarnate. I don't think he's never been as terrible as some people have made him out to be. Even my short time as a Spurs fan, which has only been close to 15 years now at this stage, like there was a period where it felt like we were kind of on the up and the up and the up and the up. Like, and as much as maybe you could say he got things wrong here and there was a time when I was in middle school and high school, and I was kind of surprised to see Spurs consistently in the Champions League, to see them consistently fighting in Europe. And when we got Jose Mourinho, I felt like, holy shit, like, we're massive. This is like an incredible person to be drawing, Conte as well. Like, I was amazed that Spurs could even attract someone like that. So I very much agreed with a lot of your closing statements, or whatever you want to call them, but Brad's absolutely right. I maybe sometimes have kept a tone as if, the guy is dead and gone forever. In a way, you maybe hope that he is gone forever, because we just don't have to necessarily discuss him anymore. It for me, always reached a point where sometimes I kind of was hopeful that this day would come, because it's just nice to have now just different people to have in charge, and different people to, sometimes it's nice just to start blaming someone else instead of the same person every single time.
Gold says someone's got a load of people got to change their Twitter handles now.
I love a new scapegoat, Brad.
I was going to say, it won't be long, Jacko. Give it another 6 months and there'll be another scapegoat. Trust me, someone else.
I got tired of that. It's like a toy. I got tired of that toy, Mia.
It'd be Charrington, it'd be Binay, wouldn't it? It'd be somebody.
Levy crossed out, another name written on it. Out.
Yeah, do you know what it's like? Do you know, like and like what Jack was sort of saying, an ex, or you cross out that name on your list of like your ex-girlfriends or boyfriends, and you're like, right, next one, who am I going to now be hating the most? Playing all the hate songs and like me like screaming profanities at the poster of them and putting darts into it.
And like Rain Man saying, now I can just focus more of my attention on my Brennan Johnson narrative, instead of
you leave Brennan alone. He scores like goals. Johnson again, LA.
Yeah, Johnson again, LA.
Excellent fan show though, everybody. Like I said, it's the speculation show. There were some difficult questions, but I actually think you all did tremendously this evening. So I'll go around the horn one last time with maybe anything that people felt like they wanted to say regarding anything, and then I think we'll wrap this into a nice little, maybe beautiful bow that you could sell in a Spurs shop. Brian, we'll go back to you since you waited patiently to go last. Any final words from yourself, sir?
Look, I just can't wait to play Nottingham Forest now. Let's get the 6 points against Ange Postecoglou. Come on, boys. Let's do it. Let's show Ange up.
I love it. To his other ex-girlfriend, like I joked in the back end. Eugene, final words from yourself. Excellent job tonight as well. Thanks for staying on and being Brad and Ryan and being here for a while as well. Appreciate you.
I mean, I'm just glad football is back because this whole international break has been tough. Hopefully we can stop talking about Levy and start talking about football. Again, I've been Levy out for a while. I'm glad he's gone. But again, my concern is the bigger, the bigger thing with ENIC. So any change, is risky. Risk is both exciting and scary, which is, I think, what everybody's feeling. So I'm hoping everything works out. I'm hoping we get sold soon, but as of now, I'm just tired talking about this whole thing, like, the finances and who does what. Let's focus on the games and hopefully we'll do well and get some more players in January. But I'll try to be optimistic about what's happening on the board level, and hopefully in about 6 months or a year, we'll see a sale.
Okay. Brad, final words from yourself, sir. Thank you as well for being on for so long and
my pleasure.
keeping me company.
I'd just like to say that, the older I get, obviously the less time I have to be patient. But I'm pleased with what's been going on this season so far. I'm pleased with the Thomas Frank appointment. I'm pleased with the 4 players that we signed. I'm pleased that Levy's gone. I'm fairly optimistic about the new people in charge. But I just hope that we're all patient with it. I still think it's going to take at least a season for Thomas Frank to get his ideas over fully to the players. Don't forget, these players have been ones that have been playing with hardly any tactics to suddenly having loads of tactics. So I just hope we're patient. I think we might have a cup run if we get a decent draw. But yeah, let's give it a chance. Let's not get, every time we lose the game, that's the end. It's the end. It's the end of everything. Thomas Frank is useless, hopeless. Why do you ever get him? And then when we beat a team, it's, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. Yeah, let's try and be a little bit nuanced. I'm confident we'll beat West Ham, but I don't go with, they're rubbish. We're going to annihilate them on Saturday. Now, let's just hopefully be optimistic about the season, enjoy the football, appreciate the good stuff. Okay, we can all moan about the bad stuff, but let's not pick a player and every player is the worst player on the pitch. And when you do get these players, you think, look, that mistake he's made, and that mistake, terrible. And then you've got your favourite player and you don't notice the mistakes they make, because you're blinkered. So let's try and approach the season fairly and enjoy it and be optimistic. And that's it really.
Beautifully said. And Rainman, final words.
I'm thinking. My head says 1-1 this weekend. My heart says please 2-0. I do wonder, Ryan, how many fit players Forest are going to have when I don't know when we're playing them. I'm going to have to go and check.
It's Saturday morning, I think, midday Saturday, I think.
No. What? So when is it?
When we play them at home.
Forest Arsenal.
No. When we play Forest.
It'll be December the 18th.
He knows it to the day. He knows the exact minute.
December the 18th.
December the 18th. Oh, there's plenty of time for all
that. I was going to say that I won't have any fit.
What happens.
Might not even be in the job by then.
Well, no, because he's got a 2-year contract for a reason, right? Is it a trophy if he wins in the championship in his second season? That's what I want to know. All in jest. Love Ange. I'm hoping 2-0 at the weekend. Although I've got a busy weekend coming up, I'm hoping that they're going to get the DOF sorted out, and we're going to start to get some consistent and that this club is now going to be able to move forwards. And I hope that people can just let Levy go, and not hold on to it. Move. I've got like a little saying, let go of the grudges of yesterday and hold on to the hope of tomorrow.
Right.
And I hope that people can do that. It's very hard as human beings. It's very hard to do. So that's where I am.
I completely agree. That's why I tried to keep that sort of tone about the show to get our final errors and grievances, and also maybe whatever, history of what we think he's done or hasn't done. Mia, final words from yourself, please.
Yeah, I would probably say that I hope whoever moving forward does whatever's best for the club, and that Tottenham are successful in the Premier League and in all the competitions that we're in. I want what's best for Spurs ultimately. I don't really care. Like, at the end of the day, I want what's best, and I've got no attachment particularly to Daniel Levy or to Charrington or to Vinay. I just want what's best for the club. So if someone new comes in and says clear the decks, I want all of them out. Cool, man. Let's see what's going to happen. Obviously, change is scary and it's going to be unknown. And I just hope it's what's for the best of the club, because ultimately, like I say, that's all I want. I want what's best for my club, like I've always done since I've supported them since I was young. So for me, it's something that now I think, like what I think Rain just said, is that I hope people just put it to bed. It's done. Be happy that he got us to the place that he got us to, and continue our journey as Tottenham fans, and be like, right, okay, we're grateful what he did do, and obviously maybe upset about the things that did happen. It's a bit like a relationship. You look back on the fond times, you look back on the bad times, right? And then you have to kind of put it all to bed and think, let it go. Just let it go. It is what it is. So I think that, I hope that people can do that, and that we can just move on with Tottenham, like I say, and do what's best. When it comes to the game, quickly about Marinakis and Ange, that ain't going to go down well. There's going to be some plate smashing at some point. I'm telling you, the two Greek feisty men that have got that kind of ego and attitude, like, that ain't going to end well, man. I was like, that is not a good mix. Coming from a Greek family myself, like Rain does, is innit, Rain, like, that don't end well. So that's interesting. But when it comes to West,
sorry. No, you continue. Sorry.
When it comes to West Ham, I think we will beat them 3-1. I've got a good feeling about it. I think that Kudus is going to have a point to prove. They're going to boo him and he's going to be like, F you, basically. And when he does either assist or score, he's going to go over to their fans and rile them up a bit, because he seems like he's a bit like that. And bring it on. Bring it on. Not that they can see, because they're so far away from the bloody pitch anyway. Stupid bloody stadium.
It's
awful, isn't it?
It's terrible.
I actually agree with you about Marinakis. Like, I mean, I know Eugene is gone, and maybe I wouldn't be putting his point correctly, but he did say in the back end, or maybe in the beginning of the show, that someone like Marinakis, like, oh, maybe Spurs fans would want an owner like that. It's like, maybe in some degree, but the fact that he is just so impulsive and so fiery, it also can be at the same time like a detriment, because sacking Nuno was preposterous. Like, it's hopefully, I mean, maybe not. I don't actually care at all. I don't want it to work out for them, but just when you have someone who is that impulsive about decisions like that, that is rocky. Like, surely you don't get everything right. If that's how you operate, you will make mistakes at some point if you sort of let emotions get to you. And the fact that he's like storming the pitch and stuff after games and like intimidating people, it's just if anything, that's not really an owner that I would like to have. And we'll see whether that goes well with Ange. Also with Ange, right, wasn't really someone to deal with the media super well. Marinakis doesn't seem to deal with the media super well either, and the fact that he seems to have a gun pointed at him and the way that he talks. So we'll see how it goes. Very funny. Ryan, I had your channel put in there, Mia's channel as well, and also Brad's channel, so please subscribe to them, show them some love. Yes, Ryan.
Just one more thing for the game over at the weekend. It's going to be a 4-0 win. Kudos hat-trick and a Simmons goal, and a Simmons goal and an assist.
Love it. seeing Mohamed Kudus score against them would be absolutely tremendous.
I'm getting on Paddy Power now.
Yeah, it's got to be.
While the rates are good, they'll probably short you later.
Honestly, it has to be, because it's just it'll be poetic justice, because they all told us he was rubbish, and then they cried now that he's good about how he's a Judas. So it'd be poetic justice for him to score a goal against them.
Yeah. And
well, once if he scored a hat trick against them, Mia, and then an assist from Simmons, and then a Simmons goal on his debut.
Scoring a hat trick, there aren't that many stools that he can sit on.
Long as he doesn't stir them up if he scores after 5 minutes, because you're always putting yourself. Because I remember when Sonny scored at the Emirates last season, puts there, he's going, doing all the thing and stirring up there. Don't do that, Sonny. Don't do that. It's a long way in the game to go.
Frank Love scoring early, though. At least that was the case last season, right? Brentford, right, were the team that always scored way too early in games. But we'll find out.
If he makes it 4-0 in injury time, then fine, do it. Do it as much as you want.
As I'm wrapping it up, thanks to this lovely panel, I thought a great fan show. I always say great fan show, but this one did feel really, really good statements, and a lot of tough questions to answer, and a lot of speculation, right? It's not like we know everything for certain, but I think there was some really good conversations and back and forths on it. So thanks to the panel. Thanks for them being members of the channel as well, helping Dave and I out. And we'll see you all tomorrow for a panel show, and then for the weekend against West Ham and the London Derby. Have a good night, everybody. Come on, Spurs.
Bye. Spurs.